In this Come Follow Me devotional on D&C 5157, we explore how to stay faithful wherever God leads, even in times of transition and uncertainty. Have you ever tried to follow God, only to have everything around you change? That's exactly what happens to the early saints in Doctrine and Covenants 51 through 57. They consecrate their property, accept new callings, and prepare to build Zion. But instead of finding stability, they find themselves moving again and again. So what does the Lord want us to do when the destination keeps changing and nothing goes as expected? He invites us to stay faithful wherever He sends us. Welcome to the Speak Peace to My Soul channel, where we seek Christ, deepen our discipleship, and find quiet strength in His Word. Let's take a moment to calm and ground our hearts and minds through a 4-7-8 breathing exercise that invites the Lord into this moment. Inhale to the count of 4, while saying in your mind, planted in faith. Hold to the count of 7. Exhale to the count of 8, while saying in your mind, even when the path changes. God doesn't always reveal the next step, but He always walks with us in it. The saints were doing their best to follow God, but the ground beneath them kept shifting. In D&C 51, the saints had finally made it to Ohio. They were ready to live the law of consecration and receive stewardships for their families. A stewardship meant a sacred trust, land, resources, or responsibilities that were given by the bishop according to each family's needs, with the understanding that it all still belonged to the Lord. Bishop Edward Partridge was directed to divide property in fairness, and the saints committed to live in unity. But just as they began to settle in, new instructions came. In D&C 52, many of the leaders were called to leave again, this time to preach the gospel in far-off places, 2 by 2. Then in D&C 54, the Colesville saints, who had just found refuge in Thompson, Ohio, were told to leave after a dispute with Lehman Copley. And by the time we reach D&C 57, the Lord reveals the land of Zion, but tells them it's not time to build yet. Even though they were trying to follow Him, the circumstances around them continued to change. And yet the Lord never withdrew His hand. He gave them direction, He gave them assignments, He gave them promises. And He still does the same for us today. As Elder Elder Holland once said, "Some blessings come soon, some come late, and some don't come until heaven. But for those who embrace the gospel of Jesus Christ, they come." That's the kind of steady trust the saints showed then, and the kind we are invited to show now. Even when our lives feel unpredictable or disappointing, the Lord provides what we need to keep moving forward, often in small, steady ways. If we watch for His hand, we'll see that He's still guiding, still shaping, and still keeping His word. The Lord invites us to be faithful in the present, even when it's temporary. In D&C 51:15, the Lord gives this instruction to Bishop Partridge. "Let my servant Edward Partridge deal honestly, be alike, and receive according to his wants and needs." The saints were learning what it meant to build a Zion people, even without a permanent Zion place. They were asked to trust in God's provision and live generously with one another, even in times of transition. President Russell M. Nelson has reminded us, "The Lord loves effort, because effort brings rewards that can't come without it, and live generously with one another, even in times of transition." Here's something to consider. The law of consecration wasn't just about dividing land, it was about trusting God with everything they had. It was about holding loosely to what felt familiar and holding tightly to the covenant life He had called them to. Are we willing to be just as faithful, right where we are, even when our own situations feel temporary or uncomfortable? When we don't understand the whole picture, God still invites us to take the next faithful step. In D&C 52:14, the Lord offers this gentle reassurance, "I will give unto the faithful line upon line, precept upon precept." He doesn't reveal the entire plan up front. Instead, He teaches us how to walk in trust, one instruction at a time. Many of the saints were called to missions or roles that may have felt confusing at the time, but the Lord was working behind the scenes. He was preparing hearts, building faith, teaching obedience. Elder Dieter F. Uchtdorf once taught, "Faith means trusting God in good times and bad, even if that includes some suffering until we see His arm revealed in our behalf." That is the kind of faith the saints were being asked to develop, one that holds fast in tribulation. Later, in D&C 54, 7-8, he speaks to the Colesville saints, saying, "Ye shall be patient in tribulation until I come." These saints had just uprooted their lives to settle in Thompson, but instead of comfort, they were now called to start over once again. It's a reminder that just because we follow God doesn't mean life will be easy or predictable. Sometimes we too are asked to start over after a job loss, a move, or an unexpected change. But like the saints, we can trust that if God is asking us to begin again, He is also walking with us through the uncertainty. As Sister Michelle D. Craig once said, God sometimes asks us to be His hands, not only when it's convenient, but when it's uncomfortable. This is such an important spiritual truth. Faith isn't about having a perfect understanding. It's about having a willing heart, even when the Lord changes the direction we thought we were going. The promise of Zion is real, but it comes through daily preparation and steady trust. In D&C 57:2, the Lord reveals something sacred. This is the land of promise and the place for the city of Zion. But notice what doesn't happen. He doesn't say, start building it now. Instead, He calls individuals to get to work, writing, printing, preparing, organizing, and living as saints. Zion would be built, but not right away. The saints needed to become Zion people first. And here's a thought to take with you. What if where you are right now isn't your final destination, but it is the perfect place for your next layer of growth? What if God is shaping you step by step in the quiet assignments and the unseen, faithful efforts that nobody applauds? If you're feeling uncertain about where you are in life, God sees you, and He hasn't forgotten you. You might be waiting for clarity, direction, or peace. You might be wondering why your path has changed so many times. But if you're doing your best to obey, God is doing His part to lead. He honors steady faith. He blesses quiet trust. And He builds Zion hearts long before Zion cities. Type, "I will be faithful" in the comments if you're choosing to trust Him right where you are. Let's invite the Lord to guide us in this moment with a quiet prayer of the heart. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't even need to know the destination. Just ask, "Lord, what would you have me do right here, right now?" Then listen and move forward in faith. President Henry B. Eyring beautifully taught, "The Lord will give you the capacity to move forward with faith in every footstep." His promise reminds us that God doesn't just send us. He empowers us to keep walking, even when the road is hard. If this message encouraged you today, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs a little extra faith for their journey. Until next time, may we remember Him more, follow Him closer, and rejoice in His light.